And of course I am doing this as kind of a project, a part of a video project, so I'll sometimes repeat myself. But basically I am talking about appeasement. Appeasement politicians. Of course, probably the most famous one is Neville Chamberlain. He's the guy who waved a piece of paper saying there will be peace in our time after he sold out several countries that had already been annexed, but then he sold out the brave people of Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland, which was a mountainous defense area where they could have stopped the Nazis or at least slowed them down had they been backed up by the British and France and other countries. But the League of Nations, which is basically now the United Nations, sold them out and allowed Hitler to take Europe, and we know the rest. Millions died because of Neville Chamberlain's appeasement to a socialist. And as I've said before, we have state and local cowardly politicians who now are appeasing today's socialists, Antifa. And by the way, Nazi also is an acronym for socialism. Who a few years ago had burned Ferguson to the ground after Michael Brown, the stupid thug, had beaten up a poor Muslim gas station owner and then tried to beat up a cop and was shot, and proceeded to do the same thing after a video showing Derek Chauvin strangling and killing George Floyd, who may have also died due to fentanyl that came over from the People's Republic of China and probably across the Mexican border, as well as possibly even had the coronavirus, because there is another video stating that he could not breathe while he was standing up, being handcuffed. So, I've mentioned before appeasers in another video, and I'll talk a little bit about it again, but it is because of appeasement. When you see a statue being torn down, it is because you have a cowardly mayor and probably other cowardly city and county officials who are letting a mob take over an area and tear something down. And that's cowardice. These people get millions of dollars in tax funds. They have access to, the National Guard, lots of other things that they could, lots of other ways where they could, use resources to stop this. But they instead chose to let this violence get out of control. And we had a small incident here like that in Little Rock with Frank Scott Jr. Earlier, I think it was last year, a thug by the name of Bradley Blackshire, who was on drugs, had a prostitute with him, also had a stolen car and a gun, tried to run over a police officer, Officer Stark, and Officer Stark jumped on the hood of the car so as to stop Bradley Blackshire from hurting other people, while at the same time avoiding the young woman that was with Bradley Blackshire from being in the line of fire. Frank Scott Jr., along with the other crooked, the Little Rock police chief, a crook by the name of Keith Humphrey, tried to fire this guy. Actually, they did fire him. He came back, and he is sued, and he is one of 6 lawsuits regarding Keith Humphreys, who's another crook who needs to be kicked out of office. Of course, Black Lives Matter doesn't care about local politics and their corruption. They only care about advancing a leftist agenda. So that's why, again, Frank Scott Jr. is still trying to appease these clowns. But sadly, our Arkansas governor, who basically had to take charge and make fair Frank Scott Jr.'s job in stopping this riot by calling in the National Guard and state police and shooting some of the tear gas after the Little Rock mob had thrown stuff at Frank Scott Jr., idiot that he is. He decided to also appease this mob. Now, he appeased this mob in a different way. Asa Hutchinson, as you know, anytime there is a problem and it is a controversial issue, he has a standard fallback method, and that method is a task force. He did a task force on Obamacare Medicaid expansion, which was an excuse for him to rename it to the private option and to make a few useless changes. He has a task force on taxes, where he actually appeased the left by putting some radical leftists as a member of that task force. Thanks to the efforts of Conduit News, we exposed him, and he ended up, I believe, having to resign. And now he set up a law enforcement relations task force. This is supposed to be a nine-person panel, I believe, of randomly appointed activists. I believe one of them is a former police chief. There was an article written where Asa Hutchinson and friends defended this task force after it turns out that at least 3 of them were radical anti-leftist defund the police thugs. One of them was someone that I have actually run into before and filmed while fighting against illegal immigration, Rosa Angela Velasquez. She, I believe, is a legal immigrant. But she supports illegal aliens, and she's mentioned before of defunding the police on her Facebook post, and then also mentioned defunding ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. These are the people that try to stop thugs from coming in across our border. She was removed thanks to political pressure from people like me, the lovely Rebecca DeWitt, and others who posted some of her comments that she had made. She tried to scrub her Facebook page, by the way, but thanks to several activists like myself and others, we managed to expose her and at least got her removed. But in all honesty, the stupid task force shouldn't be there at all. It doesn't need to be there. It never should have been made in the first place. I think next time I'll live stream with my phone here, because for some reason when I live stream with my computer, it does not doesn't seem to do the invite button very well. I can't invite friends to look over. I can only do it. It doesn't give me that option. It only does it for my phone. I don't know why, or if there is a way, I can't seem to find it, because I hit the share button and share to friends, share now, more options. But it doesn't have me invite friends. So, don't know. Anyway, this appeasement task force has had one meeting. So far, I think it was in Fort Smith. I've looked at the Arkansas legislature schedule of events. I can't seem to find where it is. So I don't know. They may be meeting a few days from now, a week from now. Don't know. But hopefully when they meet, people can go up and say, we already have state legislative committees that do this. We have a state legislature committee on government affairs, and then we have a subcommittee called the City and Police, actually, I believe is a subcommittee of that. But we have legislative committees, elected officials that we the people chose to deal with this very issue. And then we have a whole host of other organizations, internal affairs, lots of ways you can talk about dealing with the relation with police and the public. Of course, what doesn't work, never works, is these sanctuary policies. That's the kind of stupid stuff that Angela Velasquez was advocating, where the police are not allowed to stop and detain someone who's here illegally. And that always ends up in people getting killed because they get let go. And of course, the stupid excuse for that is that supposedly we have to let these illegals go so that they can supposedly stop crime. They'll report on bigger crimes. There's no evidence that this action makes a significant dent in crime. We do know that judges, if you watch any police show, you know that there's a system called, they make a deal where they can reduce sentences or offer people protection if they witness a horrendous crime or act of terrorism. I mean, people know this. We don't need to allow, it's like we don't need to allow shoplifting so that we can supposedly catch a murder. That's stupid. That's the kind of stupidity they're trying to advocate. And sadly, when these leftist appeasing politicians, any excuse works for them, so they go with that. But of course, our governor, Asa Hutchinson, has a history of appeasing before. As I mentioned before, he appeased big health care. He's been appeasing toward the BB crony lobbyists, the bureaucrats that should have been fired. John Seelig, the crook that pushed for Obamacare Medicaid expansion under BB, was left in office. Should have been fired the day Asa entered office. He didn't do that. Scott Bennett, the Arkansas Department of Transportation Director, who's responsible for making sure Arkansas is a laughingstock when it comes to mow roads, because he spent more money on pet projects like $1 million building in a tech park, and of course ridiculous salaries. He should have been fired. And of course Asa there's a picture of Asa Hutchinson with the group Moms Demand Stupid Gun Laws. I actually snagged one of their crappy signs here that Michael Bloomberg bought for them. This is not, by the way, a grassroots organization. These are a bunch of cowards that are bankrolled by a failed billionaire who wasted more money on his bid for the Democrat nomination than any other. And I think he may have only done it just so that Sleepy Joe could have a chance of beating Crazy Bernie. Shows you how pathetic that party is. And of course, they're run by the PR director for the poison cancerous causing company Monsanto, Shannon Watts. They are not grassroots. They didn't start in some mother sitting by her in her living room who suddenly got concerned and decided to start a movement. That's a bunch of BS. But anyway, Governor Asa Hutchinson has a history of appeasing these organizations, and now he's appeased this one. What can you really do about it? Well, you can't really fire the tax force. You can't vote them out of office because, unlike those legislatures, they're not elected, they're appointed. You can't, I don't think there's really a political will to recall Asa Hutchinson. He's termed out. I think 2022, it's going to be probably either Tim Griffin, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, possibly Leslie Rutledge. I don't know if the Democrats are going to pick someone to waste their time to look like they're still a relevant party. Maybe they'll find Josh Mahoney out of Sleepy Joe's basement and pick him as a nominee. I don't know. But maybe somebody else will jump into the fray. Don't know. It's not going to be me. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make it for governor. But anyway, long story short, what you can do is vote against his tax increase. Asa Hutchinson is going to be cheerleading for a tax increase called Arkansas Issue 1. Now, what this is a I call it a tax increase / extension. We had a sales tax increase by 0.5% that was supposed to go to road projects. That tax increase is supposed to sunset in 2022. We were promised this. And of course, like every other sunset promise in a tax increase, it was a damn lie. They have of course found a bunch of pet projects, and Scott Bennett and along with the other Arkansas Department of Transportation folks and the Chamber of Commerce and the usual deep state powers that be have been traveling all over the state in these small little towns promising pet projects and claiming that they're not going to be done and your roads are going to fall apart if you don't vote for Arkansas Issue 1. This would be a change to the Arkansas Constitution, by the way, to maintain that sales tax increase, to break the promise that was done regarding the sunset promise for that tax increase from years ago. And I opposed it then because I knew it was going to be a lie. I even have little bitty half-page flyers that I made to try to warn people about that thing. But anyway, you can tell people to vote against it. It's going to be on the ballot. It's Arkansas Issue 1 for November 2020. It was not done by signatures. It was done by the legislature. The legislature has the ability to put on the ballot 3 different initiatives. Honestly, I don't really want to talk about the other 2 right now, but the Arkansas Issue 1 is the road tax extension. And what you can do is call, comment, let people vote against it. There is supposed to be, I'm hoping there will eventually be a campaign against this stupid tax increase in the near future. I hope to be a part of it. I may have to make material for it myself. I've defeated tax increases before. A few people with, that campaign in a correct way and are motivated enough to show up can make a huge difference. As I said before, I defeated the Bryant millage tax, $107 million millage tax increase with the help of the Saline County Tea Party and getting some data and strategically making calls and knocking on doors, defeated by 8 votes. 8 votes. If I had not gotten involved in that, they would have had that tax increase would have passed. Of course, I think it was 2 years afterwards they pushed for that tax increase again. They only needed $93 million, and they defeated me. The Saline County Tea Party had pretty much fallen apart by then, so I didn't really have a base of operations from which to defeat that thing. And they spent a lot more money, hit a lot more PR firms, and now they've gotten it where these local tax increases are full-fledged campaigns. So it's much harder to defeat them now. Actually, the coronavirus has helped in at least slowing some of those down, like the one that Frank Scott Jr. is trying to push. But anyway, I'm going to end this a little early. I do have kind of another video project to work on, and then I got some other things to take care of. Enjoy your Friday and the rest of your weekend. I'll try to decorate here a little more. I'm trying to work through this. Of course, I was in the last room, man, had a lot more in terms of poster board, but you can see I'm just kind of doing this from home and kind of ad hoc. I had actually some yard work to do, but y'all have a great weekend. If you like what you see, want to see more video footage, donate to my Fundly account. It's one of the links shown here. Also, feel free to look at some of the other videos. Check out my YouTube page, Keep Arkansas Legal, where I have thousands of videos on political processes and things that matter to you. Legislative hearings, rallies, a few fights, a few more videos like this. YouTube, also Keep Arkansas Legal. It's a conservative alternative to YouTube. YouTube does have an algorithm that limits my views. Gab, which is an alternative to Twitter. Twitter, I'm Kenny_NLR. Parler, which is supposed to be an upcoming alternative to Facebook. Also Keep Arkansas Legal on there. And of course you can follow me on Facebook Live, where I do regular posts and comments. Sometimes just random stuff that I'm doing in my life, but other than that, follow along and get involved. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this now, so if there is nothing else, y'all have a great day.